Mats, first off, congratulations. And second, thank you. I was a big time Leafs fan growing up. You were just unbelievable. Thank you so much for your time today. How are you?
Thanks for having me, guys. Everything is good.
Our pleasure. Congratulations on the new book, Home and Away. Tell us about it.
Well, it was now or never, right? I got requested a few times, a few years about doing my memoirs and a biography. And last summer, I figured if I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. And also my three kids, they're 12, 10, and 7 years old, and they don't even know that I played hockey. So I figure in 5 or 10 years, if they read that book, they're gonna say, "Oh, yeah, our dad was a pretty good hockey player." Hopefully.
That's pretty neat, Mats. Take us through the process of how that goes down. You're writing it with Amy Stewart, I believe.
Yeah.
What's the process to get that thing to the finish line?
Well, we started last year, and Amy is a great writer. She not only is a great writer, but she coaches one of her sons' hockey team. She's followed my career right from the get-go. She's a diehard Maple Leaf fan. So it's been a great collaboration, and we had the goal just to try to cover childhood, and especially today. I thought it was important for me. I grew up with zero pressure from my parents in terms of trying to make it to the elite level of hockey. Me and my brothers, it was all about having fun as far as possible, and also try to for Leaf fans and for hockey fans, try to give some behind the scenes in terms of the relationship between a captain and coaches, and what's going on in the dressing room through the ups and downs of an NHL season and games.
How difficult was it to sort of like formulate in written words, sort of your emotion, your feeling of, and things that transpired back in the day?
Well, you know what? I've been kind of involved a lot. I think we produced about 85,000 words, and I think I've written over 20,000 myself, 25,000. So Amy obviously understands how you need a structure book and all that. But it's been the both of us have been a good team. She's been over in Sweden a couple of times over the last year, and she interviewed my parents, brothers, old coaches from minor hockey, and I obviously had to fill in a lot about the childhood and all that, and the career and everything that's been going on through my years with the Maple Leafs. She had a good idea about that, and she could do a big part of that job.
Mats, it sounds like you're pretty busy nowadays, but do you have time to still keep tabs on the Maple Leafs? And if so, what do you think is going on with the franchise right now?
Yeah, you know what? I was very glad I got invited, but Brad Treliving invited me for training camp for a few days. That was very neat to be able to watch the team up closely for two exhibition games and practice for a few days and see the team, and I'm very impressed. I think it looks really good. I think the management and coaches and everybody is online to have a strong season this year.
You're one of 26 men, Mats, to wear that C on your chest for the Toronto Maple Leafs. What did you make of everything that transpired this past summer? John Tavares sort of handing the torch off to Austin Matthews.
Well, I don't think it's a big deal. I think John Tavares, as we know, he's a great player and he's a great leader himself. And at the same time, saying that with the years Austin Matthews been having the last few seasons with the Maple Leafs, and I think just how he is as a person himself, I think it was the right decision. And I think if you look for the team the next 5 years and in the short term future, I think Austin has proven what a player he is on the ice. He's one of the absolute top players in the world, but also a great person and a great leader off the ice. So I think it's a very natural thing to happen, and I think it's going to be great for the team.
Mats, with all your experience playing in Toronto, from your perspective, what is it that makes it difficult to not just be on that team, but also maybe be the captain and the leader of that team?
There's no, as you guys know, there's no other hockey markets Toronto is the number one hockey market in the world. It has the absolute biggest and best fan base. And saying that, it comes with a lot of interest from the fan base and media. So and there's other angles to it too. There's so many players around the league that comes from Ontario. They all grew up watching the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was their favorite team. So any team that comes into Toronto, you're going to get their best game every time. They have parents and relatives and everybody in the stands. Arizona, doesn't matter who it is, or Utah now. But so there's a lot of things that makes it, and to get that the rest away from the game that I think you get in Florida or Vegas, where the best players on the team, they walk on the street and really no one knows who they are. I think in those markets, where in Toronto, you're if you're anything around the team, you're going to be recognized and so forth. So there's a lot of other challenges. I wouldn't say, and at the end of the day, it should be positive because the city cares about the team, but it comes with things that you have to think about as a player and manage over the season and years.
What was your favorite part about being Leafs captain? What was your least favorite part about being Leafs captain?
Well, I mean, obviously the favorite part is to get into the playoffs and have long runs into the playoffs. I mean, I'll never forget, my best memories is driving down to at the time, Air Canada Center, Scotiabank Arena. You starting to hit Bay Street, and everybody's in there. They're in the business, people are in the business suits, but they have the Maple Leaf jersey on top. You're in the end of May. That sticks in my mind. I'll never forget that. And then you win the first game in the first round of the playoffs, and there's 20,000 people up Yonge Street honking the horns, and you're like, hang on a second, we got to win 15 more, right? But so just those are my greatest memories. And I'm trying to think of negative things, but at the end of the day, I think it's important for Maple Leaf players to think about that, how fortunate I was and they are to be able to have the great game of hockey as their job. Yes, there is responsibility, and yes, there's demands from themselves mostly, but from media and fans. But it's still a game. We have people that go to work. They have 3 or 4 weeks vacation. They work paycheck to paycheck, and I was, and the players are in a very fortunate situation to make a living off of their childhood hobby and their passion. So I was, and the players they're in a great position where they are.
Mats, I think that a lot of that, those fan base is hoping that this new coach in Craig Berube is going to be a difference maker, especially in the postseason. You were able to play, in some glory years there under Pat Quinn. Tell us a little bit about your experience being coached by a legend like himself.
Yeah, Pat was a great coach, and he was a natural leader. And I like to mention Pat Burns. The same way, and I think all great coaches that I had, when you're trying to talk about what was the great thing about them, there was no facade, right? You can tell right away that there's no one trying to play a role. There's no facade about it. This is how they are. And both Pat and Pat Quinn and Pat Burns, they have this presence when they came in the room. You can tell right away they were serious. It was all business. They were both players, coaches. I mean, they protected their players. They wanted the best for the players. They listened to the players, whether it needed more rest or they want to know what's going on. So, and Pat Quinn really had that too. And both of them, Pat Burns as well.
Naturally, that leads us to Craig Berube. He's obviously cut from a different cloth and very similar to me, at least to those two men. You played against him. What'd you make of that decision to bring Berube in?
I was glad I didn't have to fight him in his prime there when he was chasing Ty around some of the games against Philly there. I start laughing just think about it. But it was really nice to be around Craig too for a few days in training camp, and he's a straight, honest man and reminds me a lot of Pat Burns and Pat Quinn as well. So you can tell there's no facade there. What you get is what you see, and he's going to do great.
And what would your advice be to this, particularly skilled group of Toronto Maple Leafs that haven't been able to break through in the postseason, as we all know? What would your advice to be to those guys as far as trying to get to that next level?
Well, I think with my years there in Toronto, it's just to make sure that they keep focus on the everyday. I know all of this is cliches, I know that, but in the everyday details, just try to come to practice and be better as a individual. Keep pushing to keep developing, because it doesn't matter if you're the best player in the world or you try to make the team in the National Hockey League or break the lineup. You all have to keep improving every time you have a chance. And the other thing is just the tighter this group is going to be started training camp as the season goes on, there's going to be adversity. Every team goes through it. The Stanley Cup winners are going to go through adversity this year, and get that group as close as you can be once the playoff starts. Because at the end of the day, there's no more paychecks coming when the playoff starts, and we're playing for a championship, right? So, and you're going to need all 23 guys, and you're going to need the support staff, the physiotherapists, the equipment managers, everybody on the same page. And if they get that, they're going to have a great chance to have a good run.
Mats, you referenced Ty Domi earlier on. How many lines in your book were dedicated to your one of your former teammates? And what's it been like the last couple of years now, seeing Max Domi play for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Signs a long-term extension this past summer too.
Yeah, and Ty keeps reminding me that he was the one to make sure I didn't get any concussions in my career. He still calls me about that. But there is some great Ty Domi stories in the book. There's a couple in there. And obviously, I watched Max since he was 8-9 years old. Me and Ty used to go when we played for the Leafs. We went to watch Max play minor hockey in Toronto, and what a great feeling to see him sign a long-term deal for the Maple Leafs. And he really loves the city, and he's going to be a great asset for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's great to watch.
Mats, as you write this book and go through that process and stir up all those memories of your days in the game, does it give you any inclination to maybe get back in the game in some way, shape, or form?
Well, I know, that at the end of the day, I think anyone that's been in the game and played, I think we know the best part about hockey is to be on the ice playing the game. But saying that, I have so much respect for the coaching and the management jobs they do. It's a 24/7 job. And, I have small kids that I'm trying to be part of their upbringing right now. But, you should never say never. We'll see what happens in the future. But it was really nice to get invited to camp this year and watch the team a little closer.
Mats, I've always been impressed the way you've conducted yourself on a daily basis now, and even when you were the captain of the Maple Leafs. How do you want to be remembered?
Well, I hope the Maple Leaf fans and the hockey fans in general hopefully remembers me that, we did our best, right? I try to do my best to be the best I could be, and being the captain for the Maple Leafs or the national team in Sweden, we try to get the most out of the team. And I think we did in all the tournaments. We didn't win them all, but we sure gave our effort out there and tried to be the best we could be. And hopefully they'll remember that.
And lastly, my lasting memory of your NHL career, I was in attendance for it. That goal on Mika Kiprasov, what was it, number 500 of your career? What do you remember about that night, man? That was a beauty. I thought it was perfect with Bob Cole on the call too.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a long time ago. I don't remember too much, but it was I mean, to score the 500 goal 3-on-4, I mean, that doesn't happen too often. So that was a good way to put it. It was a good slapper. And then it was Mika, he's Finnish too, and Swedes and Finns, we have our rivalry. So that was a good feeling.
Still modest, Mats. Thank you so much for your time. Once again, congratulations, and great to speak with you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Mats.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.